Okay, hello and welcome to my MP2 submission for level design. I'm essentially just going to go down the rubric in order from 1 through 5, just to make it as easy to view as possible and splice together all the clips. So starting with numbers 1, 2, and 3, the health bar right there, the score, and collectibles. Here's the first collectible. As you can see, when I collect it, it gives me plus 10 score. And now moving on to the health pack. As you can see, when I collect this at full health, nothing happens, and my health does not go any higher than this. Now, as I've taken 50 damage or half my health, if I collect this other health collectible, as you can see, we get some health back. I believe 20 health. Okay, that's the first 3 project guidelines. Now we're going to move on to the first enemy. Okay, so we're going to start with enemy number 1, the patroller enemy. As you can see, he was patrolling, but now that he saw me, he's going to come after me. And there was the head contact, which increases the score by 30 and destroys the patroller. And there's the body contact, which does a lot of damage and knockback. Lastly, I'm going to show you that, just try to kill one of these, or, perfect. Okay, so now that this guy is chasing me, I'm going to show you that once I get out of the line of sight, he should go back to patrolling. There we go, perfect. And now once I get back in, here he comes, and there we go. That's the first enemy. Alright, here is the second enemy, the mortar character. As you can see, it's flinging around these purple projectiles randomly in an arc affected by gravity, and they're exploding on contact with anything around it, like the buildings or the ground. And if I try, there we go, that one exploded right next to me, dealing a little bit of damage. But if we try to get a little closer to one of these, as you can see, it both knocks you back and does a lot more damage with more direct contact based on the area damage for the mortar. And just like all the other enemies, if we step on it or the head, we get some points as well as destroying the enemy with no damage. And if we come into contact with the body, we get some knockback along with the some health loss. And that's enemy number 2. Alright, and lastly, this is my third creative enemy. This is a turret that, unlike the mortar, it shoots in a much straighter line at a much higher velocity, and also is able to track the player's movement by constantly rotating towards where the player is. Its line of sight is about a 50-degree angle, which is why it doesn't see me right now. The first thing I just want to showcase is that the head and the head dynamic and also the explosion dynamic work. So for this one, I'll show you the head contact. And now we're going to move towards this guy just to show you what it does. As you can see, there's a little blood animation for when you get hit by the bullet. And also there is a tiny bit of knockback just to make it a little harder with these holes in the platform that I made. And yeah, that's enemy. It just shoots at you, and once you get behind a wall and you're out of the line of sight, it stops shooting. And lastly, I'll just show you what happens when you come into contact with the body. As you see, the way to beat them is just to get around them. And there we go. A little bit of knockback and some health loss when you run into it. Okay, so the last thing on the rubric is these level design UI game over and game win prompts. And this is the game win prompt. As you can see, when we're at the end of the level here and we jump into this gift, we get our win screen. And we can click play again and everything resets back to the beginning. There's the enemies and everything back to normal. And here's what happens when we get to 0 health. We get our game over screen after a short delay. And lastly, when we jump off the map, we will also go down to 0 health and get our game over screen. And last but not least, here is the full run through of the game right from the beginning. Hopefully I can get through without dying, but if I do, I'll probably just splice the video to when I did die. Already off to a bad start, as you can see. But yeah, this is the final run through, and thank you for watching. I might talk a little bit throughout just to give you a rundown of some of the design choices I made. For example, this area, there's 2 areas you can go off the main island. That's the main path to get to the finish line. And this area is where you can go if you're low on health. As you can see, we got a bunch of health packs there. But also I just had a little bit of fun with this area and designing the mortars, hitting the buildings, almost like a exploration RPG area. Even though it's pretty simple, but you can jump on these buildings, grab collectibles and whatnot. And now heading back to the main area, we gotta do this platforming parkour again. As you can see, due to the randomness of the mortars, I thought it'd be a fun level design to have these little platforms in. You really have to get pretty unlucky, as you can see very occasionally. Okay, as I was saying before I got interrupted, you can get really unlucky. As you can see, very occasionally these projectiles will hit the small platforms that we're supposed to be jumping on. And there's really not much you can do just due to the randomness of the mortars. You just kind of have to play as normal, try to knock out, wow, that was really close. Try to knock out as many of these mortars as possible, and just go on the directed path and hope you don't get hit by an explosion. Because if you do, because of the knockback, you most likely will just fall off and have to restart. All right, there's the mortar section of the level. And here's the final part, which I think is probably the most well designed. It almost plays like a platformer puzzle just because of the this grid, and also the fact that there's certain areas that you need to go to dodge or like hide from these guys before you try to get around them. And like so, there we go, we got around this guy, and when he can't, the best time to kind of step on these guys' heads is when they can't see you, or in this other case, if we can get on top of this thing, these guys don't have a Z rotation, so the best way is to get on top of these little these cones and try to jump on them from there. Go into this corner, and now we try to get on top, and there we go. Here's the last one here. This one you can just walk in a diagonal. We only got hit once there. And yeah, this is the end, and thank you for watching.